they wanna know. Who's that girl? Me, baby, relax and start passing. Expressway, head back, weaving through the traffic.
In 1999, a woman from Philadelphia walked into a room full of the hardest street rappers in New York and battled every single one of them for a spot on the roster. She was 20 years old. She had just been dropped by Dr. Dre. She was sleeping at her mother's house, and she had absolutely nothing to lose. That woman was Eve, and within a year of that audition, she had the #1 album in the country, a Grammy Award with Gwen Stefani, her own sitcom on network television, a starring role in a hit movie franchise, and the title of Ruff Ryders' First Lady. Eve was not just a female rapper. She was a force of nature, a pit bull in a skirt, as she called herself. She could out-rap most of the men in the room, and she did it while writing every single bar herself. But somewhere between the platinum plaques and the red carpets, Eve quietly stepped away from hip-hop. No farewell album, no dramatic exit. She just faded. And the question that has lingered for over a decade is why? Why did one of the most talented women in rap history walk away from the thing that made her legendary? Eve Jihan Jeffers was born on November 10, 1978, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She grew up in the housing projects of West Philly, first in Mill Creek Homes before moving to Germantown. Her father worked as a supervisor at a chemical plant, and her mother worked at a publishing company. Eve started singing in church choirs as a kid, and her aunt turned her on to LL Cool J, which opened the door to hip-hop. She attended Martin Luther King High School, where she excelled at poetry and was a regular on the local talent show circuit. By 13, she had switched her focus from singing to rapping and formed a duo called EDGP, pronounced Egypt, with her friend Jennifer Pardue. After high school, Eve moved to New York with dreams of making it in the music industry. But the reality of being a young Black woman with no connections and no money hit her hard. She ended up working as a stripper to survive. It was during this period that she crossed paths with rapper Maz, who saw something in her and convinced her to stop dancing and focus on her music. Mace introduced her to Dr. Dre. In 1998, Eve auditioned for Dr. Dre and impressed him enough to get signed to Aftermath Entertainment under the name Eve of Destruction. She recorded a track that ended up on the Bullworth soundtrack, which was her first tangible success. But Aftermath was in a transitional period. Dre was still figuring out the direction of his label, and Eve got lost in the shuffle. Her contract expired without an album ever being recorded. Eve later said, "Dre did not know what to do with me." She was dropped and sent back home to Philadelphia, back to her mother's house, back to square one. Most people would have taken that as a sign to give up. Eve took it as fuel. While she was in Los Angeles with Aftermath, Eve had met DMX, who was promoting his debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. When Dre's parent label Interscope introduced Eve to the Ruff Ryders camp, she jumped at the opportunity. But this was not some easy handshake deal. Eve had to earn her spot. She described it as a boot camp. She said, "They really put me through it as far as being able to write my own music just like all the other dudes." She had to battle rap against the men on the roster to prove she belonged. And she did. Ruff Ryders signed her, and they never treated her differently because she was a woman. Eve said, "I have always appreciated that they never looked at me like, oh, she is the girl of the group. They treated me as equal." That respect was crucial because it allowed Eve to develop her style without being forced into a box. She was not the hypersexual rapper like Lil' Kim or Foxy Brown. She was not trying to be cute. She was a street MC who happened to be a woman, and she could go bar for bar with anyone. In September 1999, Eve released her debut album, Let There Be Eve, Ruff Ryders' First Lady. It entered the Billboard 200 at #1 on its first week. Eve became only the third female rapper in history to accomplish that feat. The album sold over 2 million copies and spawned the hits Gotta Man and What You Want, featuring Nokio from Dru Hill. She also dropped Love is Blind, an anti-domestic violence track that showed she was not just about bars, but about substance. The album established Eve as one of the most important new voices in hip-hop, and she was just getting started. Her sophomore album Scorpion dropped in 2001 and debuted at #4 on the Billboard 200. The lead single Who's That Girl had moderate success, but it was the second single that changed everything. Let Me Blow Your Mind featuring Gwen Stefani became a massive crossover hit, peaking at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It won Eve a Grammy Award for Best Rap Song Collaboration. Eve was now a mainstream star, not just a rapper but a cultural figure. In 2002, she dropped Gangsta Lovin', featuring Alicia Keys, which hit number 7 on the Hot 100. Her third album, Evolution, came that same year and debuted at number 6. 3 albums, all successful, Grammy winner, multi-platinum artist, and then she started acting. Eve starred alongside Ice Cube in the Barbershop franchise, playing the role of Terry Jones. She was a natural on screen. She launched her own clothing line called Fetish, which ran from 2003 to 2009. From 2003 to 2006, she had her own sitcom called Eve on the UPN network. She was everywhere: music, film, television, fashion. Eve was doing what very few rappers had managed to do before her. She was building a brand that extended beyond the mic. But while her entertainment career expanded, her music started to take a back seat. After Evolution, the album stopped coming. Eve was mostly confined to guest appearances on records by other artists. She released a couple of singles in 2007, Tambourine and Give It To You, featuring Sean Paul, but her fourth album kept getting delayed. Behind the scenes, there were major issues with Interscope Records, which distributed Ruff Ryders. Eve and the label could not see eye to eye. The creative differences and business disputes dragged on for years. Eve left Interscope in 2010 after more than a decade of frustration. She eventually released her fourth album, Lip Lock, independently in 2013, but the sales were disappointing. The woman who debuted at number 1 could not generate enough buzz to make an impact as an independent artist. The industry had moved on. New female rappers were filling the space, and Eve was left on the outside looking in. But here is where Eve's story diverges from so many other artists we talk about on this channel. She did not spiral. She did not self-destruct. She chose a different path. In 2010, Eve met Maximilian Cooper, a British multimillionaire and the founder of the celebrity motor rally Gumball 3000. They started dating and fell in love. They married in Ibiza, Spain in 2014. Eve moved to London and started building a life that looked completely different from the one she had in hip-hop. She became a stepmother to Cooper's 4 children, and in 2022, she gave birth to their son Wild Wolf. She co-hosted the CBS daytime talk show The Talk from 2017 to 2020. She appeared in the ABC series Queens in 2021. She was still working, but on her own terms and at her own pace. In her 2024 memoir, Who's That Girl?, Eve got incredibly honest about what really happened during those years away from music. She admitted that the constant grind of staying relevant in hip-hop had worn her down. She talked about numbing herself with alcohol to cope with the exhaustion and the pressure. She said, "As much as my life was great, I was not happy. I did a lot of numbing. I ran to alcohol because I was so tired. I was exhausted." She also spoke about the challenges of being a female rapper in a male-dominated industry. While Ruff Ryders protected her and treated her as an equal, the label executives at Interscope were a different story. She described walking into boardrooms and getting eye rolls and dismissive attitudes. The men who were supposed to support her career treated her like an afterthought. Eve also addressed the beef she had with other female rappers during her peak years. She had subliminal disses aimed at Foxy Brown and Lil' Kim on tracks like Let Me Blow Your Mind and Double R What, where she criticized them for using ghostwriters. Foxy Brown fired back, calling Eve a jealous bum and questioning her authenticity. The feuds highlighted the impossible position female rappers were put in during that era. There were so few slots for women in hip-hop that instead of building together, they were pitted against each other. Eve, Kim, Foxy, and later Nicki Minaj were all fighting over the same tiny piece of the pie, while men had the entire bakery to themselves. Today, Eve lives in London with her husband and children. She released her memoir to coincide with the 25th anniversary of her debut album. She told Essence, "My piece is so important. I am a different person from that young girl who was rapping like her life depended on it. I am a wife now, a mother to a beautiful son and 4 amazing bonus kids. But most of all, I am still that girl from Philly who can rap her behind off." Yes, she has hinted at working on new music, but has not committed to a timeline. In 2016, she told Wrap Up TV, "What kept me away was not something that was conscious. It was more just life stuff. I moved to another country. I got married. I just needed time to settle." And maybe that is the real story of what happened to Eve. She did not disappear because she failed. She did not fade because she lost her talent. She stepped away because she found something that the music industry could never give her: peace, happiness, a family, a life that did not require her to battle every single day just to be taken seriously. Eve chose herself over the machine. And in an industry that chews people up and spits them out, that might be the most gangster thing she has ever done. The pit bull in a skirt grew up. She put the leash down, and she walked away on her own terms. Do you think Eve should come back to rap? And do you think she gets the credit she deserves as one of the greatest female MCs of all time? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.